research, but it's like, if I had a regular job, would be working less than I am now.
But at least you're doing something. You're doing something of value, don't you think so?
I'm tired.
Tell me what's going on. Do a little update here.
Okay, is this live?
Yes. Well, it's not live, but it's being taped.
It's being taped. Okay, I'm going to drink a water.
Yes.
Brand.
Boulder water. Beautiful. Everything's in action in Boulder, and you have lots of stuff. I was sort of following a little bit of what you're up to, and you've got to be one of the most traveled researchers in the world. You're forever moving around, and so I think that's important to you, right? Not just to sit in one place.
Way to research. I mean, how can you do it unless you're face to face? One of the things that people that I interview, I have to look at them face to face. I have to feel their vibration. I have to see if they're telling the truth. So I can't do that on a phone. I can't do that. I can't do that any other way. So I have to, and it's not sponsored, as you know. It's not sponsored, but the motivation, and this is, you and I are like kindred spirits, because the motivation that I have is I just want to know the truth.
Exactly. And you've dealt with a lot of I don't know if people know that, you've dealt with a lot of the most major researchers, going back to Hynek, to Greer, to Philip Corso. I don't know if you heard the other day, Eric Davis was on a radio show, and Eric Davis said he did an investigation of Corso and basically confirms it. I'll have to send you the audio tape. I was really surprised. I guess he went through his contacts and stuff, and basically speaks very well of Corso. So name some of the people that you've dealt with over the years.
Oh God, my brain is okay. So what I'm doing on my website for people that want to go there, www.Paola, Paola, Italian, Paola Harris, is right now trying to do like the interview of the week and what's of the month, and what's on there is Kim Arnold, Kenneth Arnold's daughter, and I think I'm the only one that got her to interview. And so that, because her family, Kenneth Arnold, 1947, had, they had a hell of a time after he came out and said he saw UFOs over Mount Rainier. I think every family of a whistleblower, or every family of a truth teller, suffers something. And I was very compassionate in listening to her story, because she doesn't want to have anything to do with UFOs, the UFO community, or anything like that. But she was willing to talk to me, and this was in 2015 for a very short period of time. Very short. And so that is on my website. So you've got me interviewing Kim Arnold, and then you have, before that, Dan Burrish.
Okay. Where is he now? Is he still around?
I tried to look for him, and I was just in California, and a friend of his told me that he doesn't want to be contacted because he's working in real science programs.
Okay.
He's a microbiologist who is looking for a certain particle, and that is his passion. The science is his passion. And he also, like Colonel Corso, has been burned by the UFO community, okay? Yeah. So these guys have not been treated fairly by our own people. Yeah. I remember Corso telling me, we don't have to worry about going in there and spreading disinformation or doing anything, because you people do it among yourselves. And we sit back and watch you all fight. We watch you all, do this, and it's being done for us. So Burrish is a story, Grant, that is very important, because I had to reread a book, and I read,
yes,
called Project Aquarius, written by Bill Hamilton.
Okay.
Now, Bill Hamilton was an incredible researcher, and we took him to Italy with Colonel Corso. So I got to know Bill and Pamela Hamilton, and I don't know where he is.
He's gone too, yeah.
I can't find him either. And he's the one that brought me to the Nevada desert to meet Burrish the first time.
Okay.
And I was not convinced, because in those days, if you told me about time travel or Stargate technology, I couldn't do it. I mentally couldn't. I don't print anything that I can't understand. You know, that and it was so I went back a second time, and he was in detail, and I went about his working in Black projects. And the reason why I read Project Aquarius is because Emery Smith is telling the same story.
Okay.
So I have to go back as a researcher and read everything that I did about time travel so that I can understand what was told to me in the past and see if it fits with Emery Smith's story.
So Emery Smith's local to you, right? He's in Boulder, right?
Well, because of Gaia. Yeah, because of Gaia TV, he and Olivia live here in Boulder. And I knew Emery because he was the bodyguard for Dr. Stephen Greer. I didn't know Emery had worked in these projects. He never said anything, but the reason why he was with Stephen Greer is that I found out Emery is an idealist. Basically, he wants to change the world. He wants free. He would like everybody to have free energy. He talks about his biomedical experience, which is amazing, which has to do with stem cell research, the regeneration of limbs, the fact that we can cure any disease, that the secret is being held by multinational companies, not the military, not the intelligence community, but the money people on the planet that stand to lose. And they're the ones that even rented the installations under Kirkland. I didn't know the private companies could have whole rental of installations, and he said they were there. And he was working as a technician because if you know Emery, he's very technical. I mean, Emery is a very unusual person. He can name every muscle, every tissue, every cell, he speaks a language like Burrish, biomedical. So Burrish and Emery are biomedical. And I don't think either one of them knew what they were getting into. I mean, because you do biomedical on humans and medicine there, but then you try to do biomedical with ETs. Yeah. And who would be interested?
And now you're bringing him to your conference, right?
Yeah, he agreed to come to my conference because I think the way he expresses himself, there's a consciousness aspect to it.
Okay.
And you know that you and me and Colin Andrews and other people have graduated to consciousness, you know.
Yeah. We're gaining a little bit of ground, I think.
Yeah, and so consciousness is the graduate school of ufology.
And so what's he going to talk on there? Do you know what his talk? Because you had him in Boulder as well, right?
Yeah, you're going to know because you're questioning him.
But he's doing an interview or just an interview and a lecture?
Let's put it this way. Emery is not a professional lecturer.
Okay.
Emery, when Emery starts talking, you're going to be impressed with this because you're doing, I think, the first interview with him about his work in Black projects, in unacknowledged projects. He basically, when you look at him, he's remembering everything he did. So it's going to be like we did with Clifford Stone last year, and you did that.
Yeah.
A living room situation where where they're relaxed because he's not the type that stands up in front of people and just talks. You know, like it has to be an intelligent, informed conversation where you hear what he's saying and you go to the next level and ask the question. You're capable of doing that because you're doing that with me right now.
Yeah.
So you're a good interviewer. So I have him being interviewed by you, I think, on Friday, and by Steve Mera, I think, or by me. I don't know where I put it, on Sunday. So he's speaking twice, but the most important thing is that he will have access to the people that are there because you know how intimate Laughlin is. I mean, you can't get lost. Everybody goes to everybody's lecture, including all the speakers go to everybody's lecture. You can't, it's intimate enough in one big space so that you have access. If you want to talk to Emery, he'll sit and talk to you. If they want to talk to you, they can sit and talk to you. that is the purpose of these conferences, is one-on-one communication with the speakers. And Ricardo Gonzalez will be there. And right now, Ricardo is in Mongolia.
Okay.
He's
doing
in
a session
Mongolia.
there?
He will be there. He will be the Latin speaker.
Okay.
Next year, I'll have 2 Latin speakers because I'm bringing up the Latin Americans who have so much information. And right now, Ricardo is in Mongolia, in Altai, with 8 people. And my feeling about that is he's receiving geopolitical messages.
Okay.
Because that's where he encounters a lot of contact in Mongolia. He was also in Jerusalem.
Is that right?
So, yeah, he was. So this is a person that has a background of a geopolitical perspective, which we can't go to all these places, we can't. But we need to know that whatever messages we're being given on planet Earth has to do with geopolitical.
So to tell people when the conference is. So you've got Ricardo. I'm going to be there. Steve Mira.
You can see it. Yeah.
Okay.
Steve Mira from, so the theme, because I always have a theme, is Return of the Star People. So it's Native American. So we have many Native Americans who will play music and will incorporate us in their dances and so forth. So Danny Sheehan, who is the counsel for the Lakota, will be, if he can't make it in person, we're going to be transmitting from North Dakota from the trial, the actual trial that of the water protectors.
Yeah.
We need to support that. So that'll be done live streamed. Ricardo Gonzalez, the Navajo Rangers, Steve Mera from the UK, and so, people from the UK are coming, and I had another one from Finland that just signed on, so my dream is coming true, that international people are coming. We'll have Ruben Langdon, who will show his film that he did at Standing Rock. Jim Greywolf Petruzzi, who's a shaman, will talk on Friday night about going to Washington, D.C. in the name of the indigenous people. By the way, the indigenous people and the people in South America and all the creation myths, they are people from the stars. I mean, this ancient alien history has to be part of this. They're people from the stars.
Yeah.
And so if we can incorporate all this, then maybe we can make sense of the puzzle. We have Clifford Mahudi. We have Serena Wright Taylor who will talk about the Vedic, the Vimanas and the Vedic kinds of history, which are also star people. And Gwen Farrell will do she'll do all the experiencer sessions with Karen Gresham Nickel. And Birgit Klaus, you interviewed her. She was involved with the Atacama being. And she's decided to do something different. She's going to do half-hour Atacama and what happened there with the autopsy, with the pulling out of the tissue and all that.
That was done by Emery Smith, right?
Yeah, it was done by Emery. Yeah, Stephen was there, but Stephen Greer and Jan Bravo, and I helped get them to the hospital to do that. But what's her name? Birgit is going to talk about the owner of that thing, that being, that not a fetus. Let's get off of that. And also, Jaime Maussan will talk about the Antonio Urzi case. Urzi is amazing. People need to go on my Facebook. I've known him for 20 years. He films UFOs like nobody, in daylight. And I was with him in Mexico City when we saw one in broad daylight in a Mexican.
Oh, is that right? Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I told him, don't you leave this hotel without me. And so, because I knew that he just, I looked at the sky, couldn't see it. And then all at once it was there. It was like, I took out my camera right away because I was looking at the sky and didn't see anything. Then all at once it's there, and all of the Mexican TV came out with big cameras, and he's just, I don't ask me what the dynamic is there, but he's from Milano, from Italy. And then we have a special guest, the daughter of Tyrone Power, the movie star, Taryn Power Greendeer.
Wow.
And I'm going to talk to her living room style too, because she's never spoken in public before, but she's not only a believer in the paranormal, she married a Native American and has a whole other philosophy of life, a consciousness that you wouldn't believe. And she's the daughter of Tyrone Power, the movie star. So I've known her for a long time. You're going to love her because she's so real. She just came back from doing a movie in Italy, so she's still a movie star. But she lives in Wisconsin on a farm.
Okay.
And people will love her. These are all new people because they're not the regulars that you usually see at conferences, but they're people. And then, of course, Ricardo Gonzalez, that is a contactee from Argentina, who is now in Mongolia. But what people will get, Grant, and what you'll be interested in is it's all new and it's the latest of what's happening. Yeah.
And it's very key people like Ricardo. I know Ricardo very well. I know Steve. I mean, a lot of these people they're sort of on the leading edge of some pretty big stuff that I watch them all the time. I think Ricardo's coming to your state at the end of the month or whatever.
Yeah, I convinced him to do a CE5 and a lecture in Crestone. He has stayed away from the American audience because, he needs an interpreter. He speaks, but he speaks good English.
Yeah, he speaks good English, yeah. He sort of makes it, he doesn't, yeah.
Yeah, but he wants, he has the use of an interpreter for vocabulary that he can't go to because he is a studious person. He is, if you talk to Ricardo, he's been to CERN, he knows Max Planck, he knows physics, he's done his homework, and there are very few contactees that have done the deep research and the travel he's done. But he wants to express that, and it's really hard in another language. So yes, he will be in Crestone, but it's closed because what happened was that we opened that up to 50 people in March, and then what happened was somehow they came from all over the world. It filled up, and if it's successful, he'll do it next year.
Wow.
And he can do it next year to 100 people, but he wants to see how he does with 50 in English. And then I have the benefit, Grant, and I hope you come with me sometime. I have 5 acres of land in Crestone.
I was going to ask you about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I bought it. I bought 5 acres, and it's like, I can't even explain it. I've been all over the world. I've been in Greece. I've been in, Northern Europe. I've been all over, and there's no place like Crestone. I can't even explain it to you, but you know the history, right?
Yeah.
You know that Lawrence Rockefeller paid for an experiment with all the religions to live together, and it was done through Maurice and Hannah Strachan in Canada and Ambassador James George from India. And what they did was through them, they funneled this money of this ranch where there are 2 ashrams, Zen Buddhists, Shumei, Carmelite nuns, and they're quietly all living in the same space, and hardly anybody is there, and it's really interesting.
It's still going, or is it still active?
Yes.
Is that right? Well, you have to take me in. Have you been in it, or can you, if I go there, will you take me and introduce me to some people or whatever and show me?
Yes, I'll take you to the Shumei group, which is the Japanese Reiki, and they come from Japan. I'll take you to the Babaji temple, and it's the only place the Zen people have an outdoor funeral pyre, and it's gorgeous. It's beautiful, and it's, I can't even explain it. We shot the movie Sirius there, Dr. Greer and the group, and it's so quiet and so black, and there's no light pollution. That for me was and no trees is the only place you get mixed up what is earth and what is sky. Because you look up and you see every star, the Milky Way, it's all black, and you can tell what's a UFO and what's a plane. You can definitely tell.
And you had an event. Tell me about the event. You were with Ricardo and I think a group when Ricardo came. This was a couple of years ago at Crestone. You had an event there where he predicted when it would happen. Can you go through that one?
Well, Ricardo's one of the only contactees where they give him the exact time. So he came to Crestone in 2015 I wanted him to buy the land. Actually, I said, you got to do something here. It's 5 acres. It's very cheap. But he didn't. So I ended up buying it. But I brought him on the land on Friday with all of his group, Mercedes and Fernando and Raimundo and all those guys. And I said, can we do like a sky watching? He said, no. He said, it's going to be at 9:30 tomorrow, so we're going to go eat. And I'm all disappointed because I love the land. I want to do something. And he says, no, let's go to dinner. He said, they told me it's at 9:30 tomorrow. So the next day, and it's very close to Taos. We all went to Taos, New Mexico. We had a good time. We came back. And I said, what are we supposed to do? And he said, well, there's an Indian stupa here. He said, they told us to go to the stupa and meditate. You've been there. You do Om for 45 minutes and yes. You do all these mantras. And he says to do that. And he said, let's go there at 9. So we all went there at 9 and we did all the mantras. This is his group, his close-knit circle. Yeah. And I was there.
Tom was there too, right?
Tom Hamlin was there also. And we did that. And that's the first time I ever saw Ricardo automatic right, because I didn't know how he did it. I said, how do these guys get these? How do they get them? I mean, I want to know.
Yeah.
That's the first time I saw him in the corner with the notebook.
Yeah, I saw that too at Shasta. That is amazing when you watch him when he does that. It's amazing. Yeah,
you don't know when he's going to do it.
Yeah.
He could be like doing for a half an hour and nothing happens. And then, did you see the arm? It goes by itself.
Yes. Oh, yeah. It was amazing. In the dark, when he was doing it, he was doing the dark. And Saul had the camera, had the phone with a little bit of light, but basically he was doing it in the dark.
He was doing it in the dark. I know. I thought there was no soul next to him this time. He was doing it in the dark totally. And then if people want to go on YouTube, go to Ricardo Gonzalez Crestone and Paola Harris Crestone, because what happened was Fernando jumps up because the camera is already pointed to the sky, and all in Spanish, they're all going, ale, they're here. And you can see a craft over the stupa still. It's not moving. First you see 2 come in because they had night screening so that you could see the 2 come in, not an airplane. And that one over the thing just flashing, and every time the flash comes, everybody hollers in Spanish. And of course, I'm confused. I don't know what's going on because I don't know how all that takes place. And you can see it. And what he tries to do is get night screening photography for people so that they understand that it's timed. The craft come and they don't move, they flash.
Yep.
And I don't know what happens when they flash. I don't know if they're giving messages, downloads. I have no idea. I can't answer those questions. But I'm happy he got it on camera because that's, because you were there. If it flashed over your head at the exact time he told you that they were coming for you. Yeah.
And I saw that too, the flash. So it's amazing when you actually see it. It's one thing to hear somebody else tell a story. It's another thing when they tell you when it's going to happen and then it happens. That's amazing.
Yeah, Greg, because you could be there all night. It's like, you could sit there like going, okay, like what's going to happen here? Even when I was doing the movie series with Steven, the first couple of nights was like, he's very precise. He had the satellite charts, he had the airplane thing, so we knew. But the third and fourth night, but you'd have to be there. I'm convinced that if people want to do Sirius C5, you have to be out 5 nights.
Yeah.
You have to be out more than 1 night. Because this is the reason. I'm going to tell everybody this. Stop thinking that the people that go out there and say, hey, come, we're here, that they do what you want. The entire agenda is in the hand of the ETs, and whatever group decides to manifest, and you don't know who they are, that they decide when they show up. And if they don't want to show up, they don't. And so people that, just go out there and say, oh, yeah, I can just call them in. Like when? These are involved craft that there's a reason why they do what they do. I've come to the conclusion that all contact has a specific agenda.
Exactly.
It isn't like...
Yeah, and they actually sort of let you know, like you're part of it, because you had experience. I remember I had the interview on my YouTube channel with Tom Hamblin telling the story about the phone. So tell the story about the phone with you and the phone that keeps ringing. Where you're...
Well, I'll tell you a new one. I just went to lecture in Burbank, right? And I'm sitting there with Paul Davids in a restaurant.
Wow.
And we're talking about Giant Rock, which is my passion, the whole Giant Rock. In fact, for people that want to read The Secret of the Saucers by Orfeo Angelucci. It'll blow you out of the water, because I went to the Hyperion Bridge with Bill Crowley, and we lived that whole time period. But I'm sitting there telling this to Paul Davids, and his wife calls 3 times. And he called back his wife, and he said, Hollis, what do you want? She said, I didn't call. And with that, we're continuing the conversation, and the phone rings again. And he calls her back, and he says, but the phone rang. And she said, I didn't call. 3 times that phone rang with her name on it, and she never called. So I looked at him and I thought, this is like when I went to Giant Rock and my phone called David Garcia 17 times. And he comes running over to the hotel. He said, what do you want? The phone rang 17 times. And I said, I never called you. And with Tom Hamlin, I couldn't get, because it kind of come to Crestone, we had that experience. He invited me to go back, and I said no.
You weren't going to go to Shasta. You're talking. You weren't going to go to Shasta. Yeah.
I don't want to go back. I mean,
okay.
I don't want to go back.
Yeah.
And so then the phone on the table dialed itself. So the paranormal is very much, this, is very much mixed in with the real nuts and bolts ufology. Their messages, and they don't necessarily come to your house, knock on your door and say, hey, Paula, we like that you're talking about Giant Rock, because guess what? I just said yes to a conference in Giant Rock, and I don't know why I'm going, on the 10th to the 17th at the retreat where Contact in the Desert is. And a group from Canada invited me, Rob Freeman and his group that are doing CE5s. I don't know why I'm going back to Giant Rock.
Must be.
I'd rather not go back because I have so much going on. I don't like 110 degrees in the heat.
Yeah.
What that facility is like. And I'm going, why did I say yes? Why? And then the name of my conference is The Return of the Star People.
Wow.
So you can talk to me after that conference. I have no idea what's going on.
Something will happen. It's actually kind of interesting to know people like Ricardo, and Paul Davids is another one. I've had some bizarre experiences around Paul Davids, and he's had a lot of things where you're around these people and they're like paranormal magnets. There's always very bizarre things, as if they're sort of in touch with something. And so I've been very sort of honored to have been around these people and have these experiences.
Yeah, but you're open to it, Grant. I mean, you're resonating at a certain frequency where it's worth it. Because it's not entertainment. It's because of your desire to know the truth.
Yeah.
And so if I think, it's like in the Bible, if you're pure at heart and you have a desire to know the truth, they'll step in. If you have another agenda, they'll say, bye-bye, we're going. And, the whole, I'm passionate about the group at Giant Rock, and that included George Adamski, Howard Menger, George Van Tassel, and I didn't know too much about Orfeo Angelucci, and he worked for Lockheed Martin in 1953 with Bill Crowley. I went back to where Lockheed Martin was, where the Hyperion Bridge was, where he lived, how he went down into that, there's like an embankment there, and how he met this human-type alien who gave him the most incredible messages about humanity, and a lot of them were geopolitical, having to do with Russia, our relationship with the world, how we're playing a chess game, how they will not let us destroy ourselves because we're so ignorant. But I had to go back to 1953 to get this, because what's going on now, I don't consider, research. I mean, I don't know what in the world's going on now, but back in those days, these people got absolute clear messages from human type beings who are hanging out in this case, Burbank. Can you imagine Burbank?
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're following up on it, because a lot of these people sort of faded into history, and I'm glad that you sort of revived it, because as you know, I was involved with Wilbur Smith, who was in the early days, and he was in contact with all these people. So I know who these people are, but a lot of the new people coming into ufology have no idea that this whole pattern of history took place, and that these people are almost like the people now. They would get these messages and contacts and stuff, and that the thing was probably very much for real, what was going on back in the 50s.
Yeah, and it was identifiable in that these people were meeting human people from other places, which, I begin to wonder if the title of my conference is Return of the Star People, are they coming back? And if they're coming back, where are they going? Yes. So, where are they coming back to? I'm not sure they're coming back to Giant Rock, even though I don't know what I'm doing there. From the 10th to, other than, watching the skies and, the film crew that's there and so forth. They're not covering Giant Rock. It's an actual conference. But, I would be really, I hope someday that people find that period of history valuable, because the messages, the anti-nuclear, the coming together, I brought Robert Short there, and the channeling he did was the end of separation. Yeah. Well, today, 2017, do we need to come together? I'm thinking of the Beatles song, "Come Together, Come Together Over Me." I'm thinking of the Beatles songs just go into my brain. So I love your book about music.
Yeah, we're doing another, Desta and I. There's so much material that we've got almost a second book finished. I mean, it's like really bizarre, and it's the same sort of thing. I think it's like you're able to somehow shut down the ego and tap in. And I think it's just what Ricardo and these people can do is they're able to dissociate and tap into, talk to the beings. And I think the musicians are the same sort of people. And maybe Paul Davids is like that. Maybe you're like that. Stephen Greer's like that, where people are able to make that association based upon the way they think. So the music thing it's more of it's not as a negative thing as the stuff you get now in ufology, everybody's fighting and stuff. It's almost like the messages from the 1950s where I think it's very important stuff, and that's why I'm so glad you're reviving this. Have you got this stuff on your YouTube channel? Are you putting all this like Short's interview and all this kind of stuff on your YouTube channel?
Yeah, Robert Short, and by the way, Robert Short talks about a Wise, I forgot his first name, who did The Day the Earth Stood Still, Robert Wise. Okay. He talks about that, and people should go on my YouTube channel because I started to cry when he talked about it. He said the guy that played the Michael Rennie guy totally ad-libbed that speech at the very end that Klaatu says to the world, unless you guys go, you're not coming. And he talks about Robert Wise saying, we didn't script that. Michael Rennie just said, just let me do it. I'll think of something. You don't think that's a download from ETs?
Yeah.
Let me think of something? I'd like to pass you that speech if you'd be willing to it on your website.
Oh yeah, exactly. Because I know, like, I always do the Beatles. When you get Ringo Starr, 1974, does the album. I know you've seen the commercial they did for the album. He plays the Being, and he's got it on his album, and he gets in a flying saucer, and he's flying over Los Angeles in a commercial for a Beatles album. It's just incredible how, you know, that story has become sort of famous, and that the Beatles picked up on it and used that same story. It's like fascinating stuff.
It is, because they are the messengers, you know, the messengers. I think the beings don't know how to get it out. So they're going to go to the media, the biggest media they can go to.
Yeah.
What we watch, it's like subtle. It's like they're not going to come down and say, hi, here we are. Guess what? You guys screwed up. You better grow up. They're not going to do it that way. They're going to go to the media, or they will do it in a unconscious way where you're going to get it subconsciously. And one of the things I want to end by telling you is, guess what? It's not intellectual. So the messages go to the heart.
Exactly.
And something like Imagine, when you hear the song Imagine, you're not intellectualizing everything there. Yeah. What you're doing is the heart. The heart is the only way it can reach humanity. And that's the only thing I think we have in common with ETs. We certainly don't have an intellectual capacity in common with them. I don't think we could ever think like them. But the heart connection is a measure with which they can reach. And Latin Americans have big hearts, let's face it.
Yeah. Yeah, they're unique. I used to think when we went up to Shasta, I thought, like, these people are here meditating for world peace, and, like, where are the Americans? You know, so, like, it's like they're coming to save America, and it's like they're coming from all around the world. And I'm glad that you're also a messenger, so I'll give you credit. I mean, we may complain, you and I, from time to time, that there's so much material you don't really know where to go or what to do next. But you have a role, like you're playing a very important role in getting their message out, and they're bringing these people to you. And so I hope everybody follows your YouTube channel. I'll promote you as much as I can, because I think you're doing a very important role for whatever it is that's going on and the message that they want to get out.
Well, thank you. But I want to say, first of all, I'm an investigative journalist. I am not a ufologist. So in the interest of defending myself, I've got to cover everything. And yeah. We have to cover it all. And then the people that are discerning, the people that can that resonate with whatever it is, they get the messages from us. But I have to cover all the stories, and I have to cover them without my bias. So I have to, you know, I've always loved Barbara Walters. So so I want to be like the cosmic Barbara Walters and the cosmic Lois Lane. So I like that kind of thing. I'm not a ufologist that's trying to prove that UFOs are real and all that. I just really love the idea, like I just did with Orfeo Angelucci, of bringing forth information that people can connect all the dots.
Beautiful. And so let's go over the conference one more time. The conference is November 2nd through the 4th in Laughlin. They can fly into Vegas. There's a shuttle from Vegas, right?
There's a shuttle from Vegas. The hotel is $49 a night on weekdays and Sunday, and $69. And there is no hotel in all of ufology that's that economical. And $69 on weekends. But the thing that's great is what they get is 18 speakers, because I can't break it down to speakers, and then I don't want to milk people, and it's ridiculous. It's one fee, all 18 speakers, a very, very nice, and you've eaten it, buffet dinner. And Friday night, we have Native American, we're going to have dancing and flute playing and so forth, but everybody gets involved. I mean, were you there the time that Travis Walton brought his grandchildren to sing Stand By Me?
No, I didn't. No. Wow.
It was like all these kids. And we had so much fun. And this is Friday night. There's cocktails. And then Saturday, we have a film. There should be 2 films. Most important thing, it's activism, because we are going to support Danny Sheehan and Standing Rock, and I think it's very important because I believe in activism. We have the experiencer sessions in the morning for people who want to share their stories. And it's a lot of work for me. That's one of the reasons my brain is fried. We start working a year in advance. It's not slapped together. It's
a big job.
It's very precise. My crew backstage, 7 guys that work for public television. You've seen them.
Yep.
It will be live streamed, but I wasn't going to announce that till October. And and I'm doing the best I can to raise consciousness.
And I'll help you where I can. I've done some of the interviews on my YouTube channel. Some of the speakers we've interviewed them, and we'll do anybody else. We're still going to try to do Emery Smith.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. And I'm staying a couple extra days, so maybe anybody who wants to sort of get together, you know how sometimes the biggest parts of the conference happen outside the conference where you're meeting people and stuff. So I will be there for a couple of days after the conference, because I think that it's even cheaper after the conference. Like during the week, it's like dirt cheap to stay there. And it's a beautiful place. It's right along the Colorado River. So I'll be staying there. Anybody wants to get together, we have these little meetings and go for lunch or whatever. Because sometimes you know what it's like during the conference. You're so busy, you really don't have time to talk to people. But I advise people you should stay a couple days after and just sit around, and there'll still be people around, and we can talk. And I'm looking forward to it. We'll be coming in. We'll be driving in, and we'll see you in November. And thanks for all you do, Paula.
No, thank you. Thank you. We're in this together.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
Okay.